come to join this next session of the Sutton Vesey Ward Forum. It's a City Council Ward Forum convened by myself and Kath Scott, who's going to leap in a minute to tell you more about the technology. Thank you to everyone who's mastered the technology and arrived at this meeting. I just need to confirm this meeting is being recorded, and it will be available after this meeting for live stream or recorded stream on the City Council's website. So be warned that if you speak at this meeting, this will be recorded, and whatever you say can be broadcast to your friends and colleagues around the world. So welcome to this meeting. It's the next of our series of Ward Forum meetings. We tried to do 6 in the year. This is the first one we've held online for a while, but given the kind of stormy weather outside, we felt this is probably quite a nice event to have while you can sit and keep your feet warm under the table. So it's a technology driven event. So you're on Microsoft Teams, and Kath, who knows more about technology than I, is going to introduce you, for those of you who don't know how to use this, as to how you can put your hand up and raise a question, or how you can make comments on the items on the agenda. So Kath, do you want to take us through the way the technology works?
Sure. Let me just spotlight for everyone. So if you see, I've just spotlighted myself. So at the top of the screen, there's a couple of more icons I wanted you to be aware of today. The Q&A function. Ordinarily in previous meetings, we've used the reactions hand to show that if anyone wanted to ask a question or speak. If you would prefer, you can write your question under the Q&A and it won't get published if you don't want it to. So if you put on the end of your question private, and then we'll keep that private or anonymous if you wish, or go to reactions and click the hand icon, put your hand up, and then we'll get round to you in order of appearance of the hand. Hope that's clear, and don't forget it's all recorded and it will be put on YouTube at a later date for to be seen by the general public at hand. And after that, now we'll go straight on to local highways and road safety measures with Karl Randall. Hey Karl. Karl, if you could spotlight yourself, then you will be the main speaker on the screen.
Right, so just tell me again how you spotlight yourself.
I'll do it.
As well,
there you go.
Okay, thank you. Well, I don't know what you can all see, but hope it's not too bad. Local highway issues, Vesey. Well, quick introduction. So I'm Karl Randall, local engineering manager for Birmingham North, 23 wards across Birmingham, including Sutton Vesey. Sutton Vesey is one of the busiest wards for us, very active councillors and very active public, and always tricky to try and deliver everything that is asked of us and requested. If I had £2 or £3 million, then I may be able to do everything, but with the money I have, I can only do an amount each year. So we consult, myself and my colleague, with councillors, Councillor Pocock and Scott, every year, all through the year, every few weeks. But then at some point we make a decision on what highway schemes, based on the request list and based on things that have come in, we're going to spend the money on. As I say, it's very difficult to decide because there are many roads, many requests, ranging from £300 for a bollard to £80,000 for a crossing. So it's very hard with the money we have to decide and to choose. But we've had a go at priorities for this year, and what we've come up with and agreed is on Monmouth Drive. First of all, we know if we go back 10 years to 2 years, very few injury collisions, if any. We go back 2 years and suddenly there's quite a few collisions, high profile in the press, on social media, involving injuries, involving the police, emergency services, etc. So it's only right that we try and do something there. We had some money left over last year after already committing to our schemes, and we put some bollards in around the corner of Stonehouse Road at Monmouth Drive, really just to do something to highlight it, to try and encourage people to slow down. But clearly we've still had some injury collisions after that. I haven't got all of the information regarding how the injury collisions occurred, the details. That's normally available to us around 3 months later, following each collision. So I have asked the police if I can have any updated information, if they have it and can share it. So following on from the bollards, we're also agreed that we would look at the speed limit. The current speed limit's 40 mile an hour, has been for many years, and we've been asked to consider, could we bring this down? So we carried out an informal consultation a little while ago with residents along Monmouth Drive, Stonehouse Road, and we looked at the feedback, and it was overwhelmingly in support, in favour of reducing the speed limit from 40 to 30. And we had lots of other requests along with that. You know, we're pleased you're considering this, and can you do additional things as well? So we have put tubes down, and they are down normally for 7 days, 24 hours a day, and they give us a very good data, very good information on the volume, so how many vehicles are travelling along the road, both directions, what weight they are. It measures the axles, etc., so we can break that down into cars and lorries, etc. But importantly, it gives us the speeds. It gives the actual speeds of each vehicle, and then we can analyse that information down into 15-minute sections, hours, and we can get an idea. We can see what the average speed is of all the vehicles, and we can see what the 85th percentile is, which is, if you like, the average speed with the highest and lowest taken off. So it gives us a very good idea of what people are actually doing now. I'll say it's normally down for 7 days. We've had some, what we think is some malicious or vandalism to both tubes in both directions. I don't know why somebody would do this. I can't think of another occasion it's happened, and we've just commissioned about 9 of these surveys around the areas in Sutton we look after in Erdington. Haven't had it before, so we had to have the tubes for longer to gather more information because of the damage. That's sort of the very first stage to it. So we get the data on the speeds. We will now move to the relevant paperwork we need to do, and then the formal consultation with residents, emergency services, etc. Whole host of people we consult with. And providing that's still positive, which if it runs along the line of the informal, then I'm sure it will be, we can then move to formally reduce the speed limit from 40 to 30. We will be able to put terminal signs in to say when you're coming into the 30, which will be a reasonable distance in advance of the roundabout in both directions. We're targeting the roundabout, so we don't just want to make the whole road 30 and lose a message. It'll be 40 still as you're coming from Somerville, for instance, and then a little way down it'll change to 30. We'll have the new 30 mile an hour signs both sides of the road, 30 Randall written on the carriageway, so the message will be very clear what it is, and the same for the other direction on the approach to the roundabout. When that's in place and embedded in, settled in for a while, we will then repeat the tube speed survey in both directions, and that will tell us whether we've been successful, and if so, how successful. For example, if the average now is, I don't know, 45, 47, hopefully the average might be 30 something, low 30s hopefully. but that's yet to be determined. We're also going to try and get the chevrons put back on the roundabout. A little difficult on the one side because it's needs repairing. The other side, the chevrons very old, faded, if it's even still there. I can't recall if it's still there, but with new chevrons both sides, hopefully that'll give something for the headlights to pick up as well, and show people in advance that the roundabout's there. Not that it's an insignificant roundabout. We are looking at the giveaway markings around the roundabout. I'm not sure what the current thickness is, but we can go up to 300 mil thick. So if they are 200 mil, that can be 300 wide, if you like. And just the fact of having them repainted specifically, hopefully will improve visibility. We are awaiting, I believe I haven't been advised directly, but I believe Sutton Town Council are now minded to agree, some feedback there, I've been minded to agree the new zebra crossing that was petitioned for by residents and councillors a couple of years ago. If that is the case, then at some point going forward, we'll be working with the town council on replacing the current pedestrian refuge with a zebra crossing and the associated advance warning signs for that as well. So again, another hopefully improvement and visual aspect for people to see and get used to, and then hopefully then forever approach slower, because you never know if somebody's going to be waiting to cross. At the refuge, you don't have to give way to people, but on a zebra crossing, once they put the foot out, by law, you should stop for them.
So that's there, Paul, Karl. Manish Puri is with the meeting, with Councillor Manish Puri, who sits on the Town Council's Planning Committee. If you're picking up this part of the meeting, Manish, maybe you could just confirm, since you were there at the time, what the decision was of the Town Council. If you will, are you with us, Manish?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, and you're there.
Let me turn my camera on actually as well. Yep, so at the Planning and Highways, they agreed a sum to put forward to full council for approval, but it was unanimous, so hopefully there shouldn't be any issues at full council. And obviously they'll get liaised with Karl, I think, once that's gone through full council meeting. We'll expect to put it out to tender, I presume, to get some prices. They're quite adamant in terms of not going over budget though.
Excellent, thank you. I just hadn't heard officially, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, I think until full council have approved it, it's not sort of dotted and crossed, but
Okay.
probably later this month.
Got to thank Manish for his hard work in raising the petition. I think it raised 2 petitions, if I'm right.
Yeah, no, there's 2 because one expired, and then we had to wait till they created a process for presenting petitions. But I say it was unanimous this time, so hopefully there shouldn't be any obstacles.
Excellent.
Brilliant. So I guess they'll be back to Karl to set that in motion.
Yeah. So that's sort of phase 1, if you like, for Monmouth Drive. It's about half of the ward's annual money, the annual budget. So what we've said is, depending on the success or otherwise of this scheme, we are drawing up plans for a phase 2, where if what we are trying to do now doesn't work, and we won't know that for a little while, then there are other things that we can consider and bring in if this fails. We're just mindful not to throw everything at it now, because it's a big ward and there's a lot of requests, and there's other things that we've been asked to fund. So hopefully if this is a success, then that's it. If there are still issues and we need to look at it, then we are drawing up plans to mitigate that. The rest of the funding for Boldmere, for Vesey, is going on to Boldmere Road at Antrobus Road. it's a very busy shopping area, busy people for a busy area of people to cross. We know we have the zebra crossings, but to cross Antrobus Road itself, the historically is just the one keep left bollard in the middle of the road. What we are aiming to do this year is to replace that and upgrade it with a pedestrian refuge. So that should benefit many hundreds and thousands of pedestrians that cross that road, probably primarily on the way to and from Cofield Road to the school, but even just, you know, using the local shops, etc. So that's been on our request list for some time. It's been something we haven't been able to fund. Now we're in a position to do it. We believe that should be done alongside the Monmouth Drive works. We have a
just
whole
pause on that point.
Okay.
I just want to bring in Kath, because Kath has also got to be thanked for raising another petition for that refuge. So well done, Kath. You've got your hand up? Did you want to chip in?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, don't forget about Antrobus Road, because I did pulled up a petition for it, and it was signed by like quite a lot of people, and the main issue was safety in crossing the roads with young children and elderly people coming down from the care home as well to use the high street. So thank you very much for adding that to the list. I'm internally grateful. And before I go, I just want to ask you, at the end of your session, could you just mention Boldmere Hardmere?
Yes, I will. Okay. So they're the two main schemes that we are doing. We have other bits and pieces should funding come in a little under the budget that we've forecast. With highways, it's very difficult to be accurate with forecast, because until you put a spade in the ground, you don't always know what you're going to find and what that will mean for the scheme itself. So hopefully, if it goes to plan, that's what we can do. If it's even better, then we have other things like drop curbs. We've just done £20,000 worth of drop curbs under the local involvement budget for what Councillor Scott was championing for.
So just
access
to highlight,
improvements.
just to let you know, I did have a really nice email from a resident near Morven who expressed gratitude and thanks for one of the drop curbs that was put in, because they can actually now access and their way onto Monmouth Drive. So they were really pleased with that. So we rarely get feedback, so that was really nice to see. I just thought I'd let you know.
Really nice.
I'll just add another one to that. Fir Tree Grove, there's a little walkway from some bungalows.
Oh,
I had
yes.
an email from the grandson of an old lady who lives there, who said, my granny wants to say thank you very much for getting the drop curb. She can now get to the shops. So obviously that's made a big impact. And while we're on petitions, by the way, for the audience here, sometimes people will say, what's the point? Why sign a petition? But we've heard in this short presentation just what an impact they can have to draw attention to issues that are of public concern. So I would say to anybody who's got an issue, you know, feel free to raise petitions. We will happily present them, and it will draw the attention of our officers to the concerns that the public have got. So all the more in get to wait for the queue, Karl. There'll be some more.
that do work, and it's nice to get positive feedback, because the drop curbs are expensive, and we always have far more requests than the funding allows us to do. So it's nice to know when we've put them in the right place where people are using them and thank us. At least the feedback to us is that we've got the right place, we've put it where it's needed and not just where we think.
Yeah.
So that's really good. That's positive.
And what was really nice last year was that I managed to, you know, secure that extra £20,000 funding to get more of those put in through the cabinet member, for which we were all entirely grateful. So yeah, thanks to those.
No problem at all. We are we've just done some work around New Oscott School, put some railings in a few months ago. The school moved the pedestrian exit entrance from within the school a few yards up, so it was able to get some barriers put there, and the old sort of redundant school keep clear markings needed to be removed and moved further up, and that's either gone out to advert or imminent to go out to advert for the legal process to get those moved. Again, many thousands of pounds to do those because of the adverts and mandatory process, consultation, etc. that's another good news there. And then there are numerous things, as I say, a pick and mix should anything come in underfunded. We're looking at vehicle activated speed signs for Baker's Lane, for Station Road. We're looking at traffic regulation orders for yellow line restrictions on Wrekin Road, St Michael's Road, Jockey Road. Just an example of, you know, many. My request list for each ward I've maintained for many years. I've been doing this role, but the request ward for Vesey doubles and trebles most other wards. As I say, it's a very active ward. If I had a few £1 million, I could probably tick off everything on the list, but until then, you know, it's a very demanding ward insofar as trying to achieve what everybody wants. So if there is anything comes under budget, we have a whole pick list of things that we can look to try and work on. So I think that's quite a long sort of presentation this time. So through the chairman, happy to take any questions.
Yeah, I'll do the chairing on this item, and then next item is local policing update. Kath, if you can share that bit. So I've got 2 hands in the air, but before we get onto that, I have got some extra news. Probably Karl's not in the loop here, but the City Council's highways contractors, Kier Highways, do a programme of planned improvements to roads and pavements. Kath and I, and probably know about this, Karl, but Kath and I have just had it confirmed by email that the pavements are going to be replaced with new surface on the east side of Ivory Road, which is the section from Radica Road up to Antipas Road on the east side. That's the odd numbers, which has been waiting to have its pavements done. That's going to go to the asphalt service. Isla Road, where there was a petition raised in the summer, Kath and I carried that out. That is now going to be repaved, I think, with asphalt again from end to end. And the third, which I know Kath has also been pushing, Stonehouse Road, particularly the top end near to the junction with Jockey, where the pavement has been crumbling away. The asphalt, that is also going to be confirmed as a replacement. In fact, I think the letters have gone out to residents there saying the work will be done before Christmas.
And the feedback from residents has been positive already.
So. Well, there we go. And the residents of Stonehouse Road are quite demanding. This time they've got what they want. And Kath did mention on that subject the issue of Boldmere hardware.
Yeah, for a long time we've had lots of issues. If everyone's probably aware of this, if you walk down the high street, there's been a number of items from the shop migrating out towards the edge of the pavement, and whereas normally there's not an issue with putting goods on the pavement, it's kind of like give and take situation. This was preventing people from seeing, especially smaller children, standing and waiting at the pedestrian crossing, so it was becoming dangerous, and our requests for them to be removed were falling on deaf ears. So Karl kindly instigated some formal action. So if you could tell us the results of that, Karl, that would be great.
I need to find out myself.
Yeah, well, I know for that because I've been up and down the high street a few times this week, and there has been nothing since that action was taken. So it was incredibly, it's been very effective.
I'm not quite sure what you did, Karl, but it's put the frighteners on the hardware boys, and they're not easily frightened. So
no.
Yeah, we appreciate it because it was driving people bonkers.
We confiscated the banners once, and but they caught us on the CCTV and demanded them back, but would destroy them by then.
We've got 3 hands up, so I'll bring these members of the public in. There's one that's just disappeared, which was Raymond, and I've got a funny feeling it might be Mr. Beach, but he's gone. Oh, he's back. Ray, you were in first, so I've got Ray, and then Kenneth Quickenden, reminds me Rosemary, and then Tony Willis. So Ray, do you want to kick off first? Are you with us, Ray?
You need to take your mute off, Ray.
Is that better?
Yes.
I was going to say, thank you very much for putting Ivy Road on the list. That was one of the concerns that residents had raised for me to pass on to you. while we're at it, can we have some yellow lines around the corner where Ivy Road meets Redacre Road, and also the junction with Oakwood Road? If you're travelling westward on Redacre Road and need to turn at Oakwood Road, there are always cars parked on the left-hand side, which prevents you seeing if there's anything coming down, particularly as it's on a bend just there. So can we have a look at that, please? That's one of the most urgent things, I believe, and I've had lots of requests to bring it up with you.
Was that on your list somewhere, Karl?
You can probably see me distracted. I'm just looking on our request list. It wouldn't surprise me. Let's having a quick look. As I say, our lists are huge, and trying to do with the TROs, traffic regulation orders for yellow lines. We try and do.
There's somebody who lives in Oakwood Road.
The microphone's switched off, please, apart from those who are speaking.
Oakwood Road, there's somebody named Ellis, I believe. I think it's a plumbing company. And when the triathlon was on, they had both their vehicles parked on their driveway. Now, one of the vans is permanently on, particularly in the evening, on Oakwood Road, blocking the view. If they've got a drive, why don't they use it?
We have, I'm just looking at my request list, we have a Oakwood Road at Redacre, yellow lines around the junction, complaints of visibility issues brought to our attention by Councillor Scott. That's on our list. Yes, it's one of the ones on there. You see, people should not, in the highway code, park within 10 metres of a junction. It's about 33 feet. If there are no lines there, and the police deem it to be an obstruction, they can take action. The City Council can't unless there are lines. If it's an issue and we feel we should put lines there, then it's something we would aim to do at some point. And the at some point is just simply juggling it with, I think I've got about 40 requests just for yellow lines. So it's about getting around to it.
And all of these things need consultations before they are implemented as well, do they not, Karl?
They do. I'd say if
that's why it takes the time. Yeah,
it does. If it's dangerous, if it really is a danger, then if the police can be notified, perhaps a neighbourhood team could have a word. They can do P&C check, find out who the registered keeper is, and just ask them to keep back from the junction till a point where we can eventually, hopefully, put some yellow lines around the bend.
We can pick that up with Zulf, who's going to join us shortly. I'll just take the other two questions while we are on Karl's item. So there's a visitor known as Kenneth Quickenden. It might be Rosemary, but either Ken or Rosemary, you've got the floor.
If you're in the same room and you're both on separate devices, that might be why there's feedback.
I've no idea.
No idea.
Rosemary's on mute.
It's pretty bad.
Can you hear me?
Try getting closer to your microphone.
Hold on.
I think it's coming from Kenneth's microphone. Maybe if Rosemary went off mute.
I'll mute. Yeah. They'll have to unmute themselves again, but sorry, Rosemary, you'll have to unmute yourself again. Rosemary, can you unmute yourself again? Apologies.
Can we do it at our end?
Still on mute.
Leslie might be able to unmute her.
No, I can't.
Oh, sorry.
The host should be able to. If you hover over the name, you should allow you to.
There we go.
No, okay. We'll have to
Rosemary, I think you might have to use the Q&A function, I'm afraid.
Okay, I'll
It's
do
because
that.
I'm ever so sorry. It's
Fine,
technically
okay,
it's very, yeah, it should be quite easy to do it.
fine, okay, leave it.
Thanks, that's helpful. Tony, you're going to be the next one. Tony Willis is the chair of the Bannersgate Neighbourhood Forum, for those who don't know.
Hello, Karl.
Hello, Tony.
Thanks for what you've said so far. I spoke to the resident at the corner of the roundabout, and he's not a very happy fella, so anything that can help him would be great. As a resident of Vesey, I have a complaint about 2 parking positions. There's actually one in Vesey, and that's round the corner from Sainsbury's. And I refer to it as Sainsbury's car park, because usually the people who park there are there for about 5 minutes while they pop into Sainsbury's for some shopping.
Are you talking
So I
about the
don't know.
disabled bays, Tony?
Yes, the disabled bases.
Right
I
on.
don't know how much traffic enforcement officers we've got, but we need more. The other place is in the town by Oxfam, Holland Street. I parked there for years without too much trouble. Trying to get into the disabled spot is impossible, but not only the disabled spots, the whole of that road, the double yellow parking, it's ever since some idiot invented Deliveroo, I think, because that's where the guys are. They're there for 5-10 minutes. They've got the packs on their backs. And since they opened that new restaurant on the corner there, they literally park right outside the little cubby hole. All I'm asking for is greater maintenance of these disabled spots. Oh, by the way, when are we going to have those 3 back from outside Halifax? Are we getting them back?
Okay, so on your first point, that's easier. I will contact parking enforcement. You're not the only one to raise this. I've had Trinity Councillor also raise issues around Trinity for what seemed to be lack of enforcement. So I'll add this one. I had to write to them twice this week already. So I'll write to them about Holland Street. There are, well, there's space for about 3 vehicles to be parked there in the disabled bay, and that's what it should be used for. You're quite right. I think it was really in the early days of COVID when people couldn't and wouldn't go out, with Deliveroo and Just Eat and everything really rocketed, and we've had problems just about at every McDonald's, including in town. We've had to fund TRO to strengthen the restrictions there, put the no loading, unloading restrictions in. It seems that these type of drivers think that, you know, they're only going to be a few minutes, but there's a constant turnover of them. So I will write to parking enforcement about both locations. I mean, we put the ones in Redacre Road, so, you know, quite passionate about those, that they should be kept clear. It was a bit controversial at the time, but everybody wanted them. So I think Kenneth, if that one could be muted, there we go. So I'll write to parking enforcement about both locations, Tony. With regard to inside the Halifax, the plan is that those bays won't go back. It's not with my team. It was part of something, sort of the old central team we're doing transportation projects. And that was going to remain. It's supposed to be built out as a footway, but they haven't got the staff to do all of the schemes. We did about 30 schemes across the city during COVID. We was run ragged on every shopping centre doing all these different schemes and build outs and low traffic neighbourhoods and all manner of things. And the feedback from that one was, we appreciate 3 disabled bays were going, but it was felt that with the 3 disabled bays on Holland Street, I think there's about 27 spaces on Brassington Avenue. It's free in every one of my car parks. Appreciate the space isn't always as wide to park. That the feedback there, especially during COVID and afterwards, was that the widened footway was more appreciated. So if that's an answer to you, at some point it will be a footway.
Okay, thanks, Karl. I appreciate that. Your letters, yes. Can you put them in capital letters, please? rather than just lowercase and in red or greening, preferably.
Tony, these people know. That's the frustrating thing.
Rosemary, are you able to type your question into the feature called chat at the top?
I think Kenneth's left the call, so they shouldn't have that background interference if she wants to come off mute.
You want to come off
So we're in the background now.
the device called Rosemary?
Okay, is that working?
Yeah, it's good. Brilliant.
That's it. Yeah.
There is a bell.
Press the right button.
Yes.
Sorry, can I get back to Monmouth Drive? You say about accidents. We actually had a young man killed just a year ago at the end of Darnick Road, motorcyclists. We've had several others very badly injured, and yet you're proposing to have 30 miles round by the roundabout, 30 miles from Jeevens Road, yet the area where somebody has actually been killed at 40. That seems a bit crazy to me. I mean, so I've had 3 cars crash into my tree at the front garden, been told by the fire brigade, be ready to leave any moment because a diesel fuel tank has ruptured. And this is the area you're saying can be 40. I mean, if the whole road needs to be 30, and it'd be much better if you actually lowered the roundabout at Vesey, at the end of Stonehouse Road there, because very often the cars that have the crashes are lower and they can't see the oncoming traffic. I mean, since the Commonwealth Games, there's been 2 or 3 accidents, and it's not long, it's only July.
There was another death on Darnick Road as well. It was about 4 or 5 years ago, not far from where the other accident happened last year as well. So
yes,
it is a hot spot.
It's
Completely agree,
terrible.
Rosemary.
I mean, so the speed they're coming along, and it's ridiculous. I mean, say the last one that finished up in our front garden, well, in our front tree, was you know, way over the limit. He hit one car, a taxi, spun it round so fast that finished going the other way, hit another car, ruptured the flipping fuel tank. And we went to bed with a BMW being cut apart to get the man out on our front lawn. You know, you really need the whole road to be 40. Maybe stick some speed bumps, do something in, because people are just so stupid.
Yeah, I mean, you're quite right. What we have to do, though, I mean, Monmouth Drive's been 40, you know, it's always been 40.
It's the only road round the park that you know, anyway, you drive through all these other places and they're 30. Yet Monmouth Drive is 40, it shouldn't be. Streetley Lane isn't, that's 30.
Yeah, I mean, you're quite right. They all used to be 40, and it's me that's made most of them in the last 20 odd years down to 30. But we looked carefully at Monmouth Drive, and an option, of course, was to make the whole of it 30. But what we felt was that would lose the impact, if you forgive the turn of phrase. It's better to come along the road at its existing limit and then realise you're coming into a 30. So if we make that 30, it's as simple as taking the existing 40 away, and then you've got nothing at all on the road. So you take the 40 away at Somerville Road, you take the 40 away the other side where we've made it 30 for the refuge, and that's it. And you don't put 30 up, you don't put 30 repeaters. Department for Transport doesn't allow that. So you've got a road that everyone for the last 60 years has driven at 40, because that's what it was. They see no difference. They probably don't see the signs they've driven past at Somerville. So, and the signs wouldn't be there now. So we don't feel it'd actually make an impact. Whereas if you travel along the road for a couple of 100 meters and then come to very high visually impacting signs saying 30 and written on the road 30, you're going to think, what's happened here? And your first reaction when you see something like that is to take your foot off the pedal. So that's the impact we're hoping for. We did consider it, and it wouldn't have been, apart from the consultation, it wouldn't have been, well, it would have been cheaper. I was going to say it wouldn't have been any dearer. It would have been cheaper because you simply take signs away. With this, we add additional signage to make an impact. So that's helped our decision there. With the roundabout, again, that has been considered. A lot of people have fed back to us. It's a shame now. It's pieced back together a number of times, but it's the original set paved roundabout. And what would happen if you raise it to the ground? If you dropped it down, you would increase speed because people would have visibility that there's nothing coming, and you would actually have a contra,
but with a bit of
would
road,
have the opposite effect.
Yes, but the bit of road at the end from Jeevons Road to Chester Road, you've made that 30, but nobody takes any notice of that at all. I mean, that's an absolute farce.
Well, that again, there's a reason for that, and I appreciate you wouldn't necessarily know the reason.
But
Again,
traffic isn't going at 30; it's still going at 40.
Can I just step in here? Rosemary, it would help if you didn't do interruptions. So
Sorry.
can you just take one person at a time? So
I can understand you a bit.
It's annoying.
I can understand, but let me explain to you why we've done that, and hopefully that will make sense. So we liaise with all the schools in Birmingham, all the schools in my patch, and we was able to get what we called back then a Safe Routes to School scheme with the school, and we met with the school head, and what they wanted was a crossing on Monmouth Drive for the children. I think one child had got struck along there, and they wanted a form of a crossing, and all we could afford at the time was to reduce the speed, to get the speed down, to try and help. To put a zebra crossing in, we need the speeds to be under 35, 36 mile an hour. Now, when the road has a posted limit of 40, clearly we haven't got that. So we needed to say this road is now a 30 in this section, the same as I've just discussed, impacting in that specific area. You're now entering a 30, you're now exiting a 30. We can then try for stage 2, which is to get the funding for a zebra crossing. And as I said, we can only do that if the speeds are 36, 35 mile an hour. So we had to bring it to 30 to try and get everybody over a period of time to do that speed. And then as soon as we are able, then the next stage, the next petitions from your councillors will be for a zebra crossing there. And that's the reason for it.
The initial conversations with the school around the safer routes started off as safety for the children coming to and from school with their parents, and B, the police would have to escort the school when they needed to go to the local church. I think it's St Columba's on the corner. So it was having a dramatic impact on, like, their ability to go out. That's why the scheme was started. And like Karl says, the initial desire was for a pedestrian crossing, but the wheres and wherefores of how the highway system works and how we get things done just takes that much time. And I know it sounds crazy to have that section as a 30, but that was the first stepping stone towards the goal that we're trying to achieve. And I think we were really lucky to actually get that done at all. So and we are pushing forward on that, and budget constraints, etc., and decisions that have to be made, will impact on that timeline. But hopefully that explains a little bit more as to the reasons why it started in the first place, and to ease your frustration a little, maybe.
We'll bring you back in.
Yes, thank you. You spent enough time on this. Thank you very much.
I'll bring you back in if you can hold power for the moment, Rosemary. I've got another hand from Helen. Then I think it would be helpful to bring in Zul Valley from the police. You could obviously comment on this, and then we can come back to round off the discussion. Helen, do you want to go on first, and then we'll bring Zulf in?
Yeah, only a little point. I like Rosemary's optimism that speed limit would make a difference, but I live at the Baldwin Road end of Highbridge, and it is frightening, absolutely frightening, the speed that cars turn the corner from Baldwin Road, and you just hear them just accelerating. And bearing in mind there's cars parked all the way on the left-hand side, it's frightening. We've got kids walking to school, and it's just an accident waiting to happen. And so it's clearly a 30, but they're doing 50, 55, sometimes probably even 60. It's absolutely insane. So unfortunately, speed limit sign doesn't stop people from driving like idiots wherever they are.
I will bring in Zulf to carry this discussion on, but let me just pause on that point, because I've lost count of the number of other councillors across the city who said exactly this, that since during and certainly since COVID, maniac speeding driving has got totally out of hand. Karl, you've probably got evidence to show that there is a section of road users who've thrown caution to the wind and knowingly drive like maniacs. I'm using my words carefully. In a way that was never common practice years ago. So I'm sounding like a bit of an old moment here, but there's something happened in driver behaviour in recent months that everybody, I think,
and we have been doing, you know, as much as we can to try and combat it with speed watch, etc. But we'll dip onto that subject when we get to speak to the local sergeant, Salt Valley.
Do you want to chair the next section, and we'll ask Zulf
if I think you've got one more hand up.
Oh, have I? Yes.
I think, is it Ray?
Thanks for the prompt. It's yes, Ray.
Yes. Karl mentioned the disabled bay in Redacre Road. Is there any chance you can knock off the first one coming from Boldmere Road? It's a situation where cars are coming almost head on to each other when somebody turns off Boldmere Road into Redacre. And again, when vehicles are on the disabled bay, you can't see past what's coming. Can we do anything about that, Karl?
It can be looked at, but again, it goes back on the request list, and you're into, you know, minimum £6,000 once you want to tinker with taking a space away, adding a space, amending the markings. You go through the full consultation, the adverts in the press, legal services, TRO services. You know, what we would say is we would go back to, you know, the usage. Okay, as Tony pointed out, some more enforcement, and we'd look at the injury collisions. We need a reason why. People say, and I don't dispute it at all, it's an accident waiting to happen, or somebody could get hurt or whatever. But at the moment, to my knowledge, there haven't been any issues, and disabled users have welcomed it, and the consultation showed that I think there was only one objection through the whole process. So we have to think that we've got it right unless there's a reason to change it. So I'm not disputing you, Ray, you know, your view, but I need a reason to, really.
The suggestions I'm getting of local residents here is that they really need a disabled bay run by age concern, where a lot of them go for elderly people's meetings, people with Parkinson's and whatever meet there. And it would be more appropriate to have something round by there than where it is at the moment.
So would you feel better if we took that away so that we could have a discussion with Karl on like potential opportunities for another disabled bay or a swapsy somehow? We'll have to discuss it with Karl separately.
Can I just add one thing before we go? Karl's just said that there's no reports of any injuries or anything there. But when I live in Redacre Road, and I regularly see vehicles having to mount the pavement in order for them to pass something that's stuck further down. I'm sure Tony Willis has seen the same thing when he's been in the area, which he is fairly regularly. And that can't be right either, because that's now putting pedestrians in danger.
Again, there's a lot of inconsiderate motorists that do this for many reasons, not necessarily just because of that particular disabled bay.
Rob, you're on mute.
Tony, did you want a quick comment, Tony?
Yes, please. I agree with what Ray's saying, because I always worry if I have to park in that first spot. But just up the road, there's 3 or 4 spaces where you could have your disabled parking right away from the junction. Why isn't it up there? Well, and as an afterthought, the 3 that we're not going to have back outside Halifax, can you have them in Holland Road, opposite the ones we've already got?
In Holland Street?
Holland Street, sorry, yes.
Possibly, but it's a conversation with a different councillor in a different ward.
Yeah, I'm afraid there's territorial issues here, Tony. I think Kath summed it up quite neatly. We'll look at what both Ray and yourself have said, Tony, about that one space closest to Boldmere Road. We'll have a look at that and what other alternatives might be in the context of the next round of TROs, as Karl has explained. So I think if we can store that one for now, I think we do need to bring Zulf in. Zulf Ali, our sergeant, well, he's not our sergeant anymore, but he's substituting for the sergeant that we haven't got. Kathy, I think you were going to chair this session, and Zulf, you're going to talk to us particularly about child theft and the new initiative you've got to try and deal with this.
You stole my
Yes.
line, Rob.
Sorry.
Let's go back a step. So
Okay,
please welcome Sergeant Ali, who's going to give a policing update on car theft intensive November campaign. Over to you, Sergeant Ali.
Thank you, Kath. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. I'm Sergeant Ali. I was a sergeant for Vesey up until October, the beginning of October, and I've moved over now. Now I've got the portfolio of Four Oaks and Newhall, and that's for various operational reasons. So up until definitely. I will talk about vehicle crime, but I've got some stats for Vesey that I'll just quickly run through. Crime stats which were prepared by SatPal for me, and it shows that since the 1st of October, there have been 5 attempted burglaries, 9 burglaries.
Hello.
And 1 burglary other, which is a business premises that's been burgled. 9 vehicle interferences, and 9 theft from a motor vehicle, and 13 theft of motor vehicles, and 9 theft from shops and stores. So those are the figures that we've got from the 1st of October that's happened on the Vesey ward, crime-wise. There's a lot of police work that's been gone into vehicle crime. I'm just going to talk other than vehicle crime. I'm just going to quickly go through some other work that's been done. Boldmere Road was mentioned as a bit of a hotspot for antisocial activity, and as a result of that, we've been looking at CCTV and looking at how we can improve the CCTV. That's something that I think me and Rob need to sort of sit down, and Kath, and see whether there's any funding available, and we could probably get more CCTV up and down the road itself. Secondly, the area that this antisocial behaviour was happening was outside the church, and that sort of moved on now, from what I gather, to other areas on that road where mainly people drinking alcohol are causing all sorts of issues. So I've got our licensing team to go and pay a visit to all the licensed premises and just remind them of their licensing conditions and agreements that they have with us, and the fact that they shouldn't be selling alcohol if they assume that someone's going to be drinking on the street, and secondly, they shouldn't be selling alcohol if the person approaches them is clearly drunk. So that's been highlighted, and that's been endorsed again.
Just a quick question on that, Zulf. Have any conversations been had with the Baptist church where these chaps hang out?
Yeah, SatPal visited the address, I think, about 5-6 weeks ago, and they weren't reporting anything then. But I think it's very hit and miss who you go and speak to. And there was, I think, from what I understand, some sort of aerobics class or something that was happening in the Methodist church. I think they use it in the evening time for some of the activities, and the person that was running it said there's no issues. So he reported that back to me. Other than that, I've not had anything feedback from that. But yeah, so we've got that on Boldmere. Secondly, I was going to mention, I don't know whether Rob has mentioned this already, but the Princess Alice Retail Park, we were having some issues regarding the antisocial behaviour and the other criminal activity that was happening on that retail park where the Tesco's was. Since we've worked, me and Rob and yourself, Kath, have worked quite hardly with the community and managed to sort of persuade Tesco's to put the barriers in. That's had a massive effect. I've noticed the fact that the crime stats and the logs that come in no longer are sort of around the antisocial element that's happening in the car park. So that's a big positive. from my point. The other thing I was going to mention before I get into the car crime was, although I've moved on to Four Oaks and Newhall, my team at Newhall and Four Oaks are currently on the 20th of November. We've got the Boldmere Festival going on, and I've asked them, and they kindly agreed that we will participate, police participation, so we'll have some officers on the ground there, because I've got still some loyalties with Vesey, because Vesey's been very good to me. So yeah, I've asked, and I've let my management know that I'll be policing Vesey for that day.
Well, we welcome you on that day. That would be great.
Not a problem. So yeah, I'm going to move on to car theft. Car theft generally, as last couple of months, we've seen an increase within the West Midlands area of car thefts taking place. Predominantly car key burglars and less key thefts happening. There's a variety of reasons, but as a result of seeing this spike in car crime happening within the West Midlands area, what we've done is that set up a team which is 25 strong officers that was set up in the first week of October. And as a result of that, and they were predominantly, well, they were just dealing with vehicle crime, and they had the enforcement arm as well as the other arm of taking them, actually proceeding them through courts and the legal side of it as well. As a result, there's been massive success. There've been 40 people that have been arrested for vehicle crime, and what a lot of the work has been done is the cars are being stolen to order, and they've been either chopped, they've been taken apart, and the parts have been sold on. It's easier than actually transporting a vehicle through another from one area to another, because it leaves a massive footprint. So they actually been chopping them. They're called chop shops. So they've done loads of warrants on those, and as a result of those warrants, they've been arrested loads of people. And I know for a fact that one of the chop shops that that they've done a raid on, they managed to get one of the cars, their Range Rover that was stolen, Vesey back. Okay. So that's some sort of good work. And even last week on the 3rd of November, we were 3 charged for vehicle theft, because we were found parts of stolen cars. It's mainly high-end cars, quite expensive cars that have been stolen. So that's the work that's been done around there. There is a lot of other work which is being done at this moment as we speak. I don't want to talk about it because it's going to sort of may have an impact, if you get what I'm trying to say, Kath, and everybody. So yeah, so I don't want to be talking about that, but what we are doing is we're doing crime prevention advice as well. That's going in hand with what we're the enforcement side of it. So we're giving the crime prevention advice. We're getting the officers and PCSO mainly to go out and set up stores and give people advice and give out Faraday bags. However, from what we've been told now lately, that they've managed to find a way around these as well. So the car criminals are finding a way around these Faraday bags. So the only sort of thing that we've been told now is the safest way to secure your car is having a wheel lock on, or a steering lock, should I say, on the vehicle steering lock, and that's the most efficient and securest way that you can secure your car.
It's bizarre. So we have to go back to all the oldest methods from the 1980s to prevent our cars being stolen.
It just shows that technology, unfortunately, is brilliant, but unfortunately
easily hackable.
And especially when you're at home and you don't know your car's been taken, because someone's there on a laptop or whatever and managed to transmit the signal to their device and that they're in your car. So yeah, so that's what's happened. What we are also with the crime prevention advice is I know that Dislock, a company called Dislock, we're doing a 15% discount on these steering locks. So if you go on their website, you will be able to purchase Dislock at 15% discount. And I don't think the police take any commission on that. It's just what I've been told. That so
50% off car
the locks,
steering locks.
the street lock, and that's if you go on that on the website, they give you a code, and you can buy and use that code at Halfords to get the lock.
Okay, I've just put those details in the chat for people. Okay.
Yeah, certainly. One other thing was that I was going to mention was the speed watch you mentioned earlier on. The speed watch, unfortunately, because of Vesey, we had Ian Willits that was doing a lot of the speed watch. Well, he was doing all of them. Everyone had their own little criteria, and the department that were looking into the speed watch was his. He's moved off onto camera enforcement. As a result of him moving off, we've got to avoid. So Ian Florence has temporarily stepped in, but he works Monday to Friday shifts that were that he's always worked. So unfortunately, that has an effect on some speed watches if they want to do them in the evening. So that's I have been banging on the drums and trying to get his replacement.
Yeah, well, on that note, I had a visit from Satpal, who gave me an update on some of the awards that were given to some of our local people from the Street Watch, is it regional? And they were all awarded certificates of excellence for the efforts that have been made on Street Watch, as well as was Satpal, who's one of the instigators of bringing Street Watch to its fruition in Boldmere. So we appreciate that, and we'd like you to feedback to the powers that be that Satpal was a real star in getting all that off the ground for us, and we can't wait for it to come back fully in force again. And anyone who wishes to volunteer, you can contact me, and I'll put you in touch with a local resident that runs the street campaigns for you.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to come on to that. Yeah, so he's done a lot of work, Satpal has, and he's a very hard worker, and all of my team, to be fair, are. And you know, I think we're all working our socks off. It's just the fact that we haven't got enough staff, and we're trying to do the best we can, and we do that. I think I've already mentioned it to Rob at some stage. We do a threat model, threat, hard, risk. So wherever the highest threat is, that's where we go, where we find the most risk. And we try to do the best we can, but it's just unfortunate that we don't have enough staff to do as much as we want. And yeah, that's where we are. Regarding going back to I've got to mention some other good news. There were 2 burglars that were caught with it was actually, if you call it a textbook burglary, theft in progress. We managed to catch them in the house with the stolen items in their pockets, on sort of on plots. So yeah, that was brilliant, and that's obviously got the message around the criminality sort of side of that. We were obviously stamping hard on that sort of thing. But yeah, there's a lot of good work that goes on here. So unfortunately, sometimes I don't think we're not as good as putting it out. We should be putting that out a bit more and getting that trust built back in, because yeah, I feel that sometimes we don't do that well. But yes, so that's one. And the last thing I was going to mention was I've been asked to plug a website called Street Safe, and that is a way of reporting anything that's happening in the street. So, for example, if there's poor lighting or vehicles being parked wrong, I think that's already been mentioned, or other sort of even criminality. But obviously, if it's a 999, if it's something that immediately needs attention, ring 999. But anything that could require some sort of attention, to go on the Street Safe website and use that to report things as well. Yes, so that's it. Yeah, that's it. I've got nothing further to say.
Okay, fabulous. If there's any questions, please pop your hands up. In the meantime, I'm going to put the link for Street Safe in the chat, and that is the place. So if we're saying sort of, if we see those cars blocking pavements on the way on the school run on Boldmere Road, the ones that like drive us bananas every day and force people to walk in the street, if we use Street Safe, we can report those.
Yes.
So if we take a photo perhaps and pop it on Street Safe, is that the best way to do it?
You can, and I've been told that you can also report sort of low-level criminality if you see something that you're not really happy with, even to that extent. And so it's not just parking. But I think what happens is once the logs come in or the work comes in, they then look at who's the best agency to deal, whether it'll be council, whether it'll be the police. So they'll then pick that up. But that's what we have to sort of plug. So, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So if are there any questions from anybody out there in the audience? Right. Let me just click on there. Okay, well, Zulf, I think you're off the hook.
Thank you. That's a nice and easy one. I don't know, when's your next ward meeting?
The next one will be January.
Yeah, towards the later part of January.
I don't know what's going to happen, Rob, whether I will. Hopefully, there should be a replacement. There should be some new sergeants coming through, so we should get someone coming through.
If we
I don't think it's going to be me next time. So if I don't see you guys again, bye-bye.
I was going to say, if we don't see you again.
So long, farewell, Auf Wiedersehen, and thank you for all your support and help within our ward, because you've made a big impact.
It's been lovely. I've been very, I think I've been very privileged to work with you guys, all of you, and all the residents as well. So thank you very much for your help as well.
Mutual appreciation, society appreciated.
Say my farewell, because I'll never forget the day that Zulf and I got soaking wet. It was Hurricane Harry or something.
Yeah.
We were drenched to the skin
Greenway.
going looking at the Greenway, and we had to go more.
I think I'm still wet actually, but yeah.
There's that. The car is still drying out where you left your coat on the seat.
Oh, what's happening with that? Because we're still getting with the Greenway.
Yeah.
Are we doing anything sort of? I know the parks was going to have a look
parks
at it.
intervention.
Yeah, just very quickly, I'll sum up on this. That in fact, it's the housing department of the King's Standing area, the King's Standing ward, that are responsible for the little entranceway at the top end. Remember where the steps are? So the housing officers have prepared a physical works proposal to try to reduce the physical access of that site to scrambler bikes. They've still got to let push bikes through, because there is a cycle route. So there is a plan that's been drawn up, intended to be implemented not by parks but by the housing department on King's Standing. So fingers crossed that will be done in this financial year.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Karl.
Good night. Okay, so now that brings us on to item 5, nicely, which is the 4-year Sutton Vesey Ward Action Plan. I'm going to hand over to Rob while I try and share the screen. Do you want to just go over the details while I
just a quick summary,
do the technical stuff?
I'm going to cheat by asking John Mole, who's with us from the City Council, to explain to the residents, so it's not
okay.
John, do you want to tell everybody what these ward action plans are? I've woken you up now. If he's still with us,
it will be the highlight of my evening, Councillor.
There we go. Well, we've got to have a highlight. Go on.
Okay. Ward action plans are actually sort of community based. So although we've always gone from a top down structure, what we're trying to do is get local people's views and opinions in there. The idea of the ward action plan is that we have a document that we can take back to the city to say, look, we've got various ideas of what we think we need to do. It's also critical then, so if there's local planning issues, if local funding comes around, the idea is that we've got a plan that we can pull straight off the shelf that will tell the city exactly what the local people and your local resident and your local councillors actually want, and what we can develop. The whole idea of the plan is to identify where we've got key issues, be it environmental, police issues, school issues, etc., etc., etc. It really is an open book. Now, I would say, councillors, that your existing ward plan is one of the best in the city. So you do not have to go away and throw it in the bin and restart. I would suggest in your case, just a simple tweak, a little refreshment is as good as anything that we could ask for in the city.
That's always nice to have a compliment. And on that note, I think Kath has done some homework and is going to present exactly that, which is a revision of the plan that we had last time.
So if anyone could confirm that they can see the plan on the screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay,
we can see
it. Great. So, right, here is the updated but still in progress, draft plan for 22 to 26. We've taken a lot of what we had already got in the plan from previous years, taken some out that we've already achieved and updated what's here. So if you see here under the column, under the banner clean and green, we've got obviously litter, clean streets, bin collections, and what we're going to do, who does what, and we've yet to put timelines in, but we might put in 2026 for all of them just to give us a bit of a break. She jokes. Obviously, I'm just going to quickly go down. It's not for like reading right here and now, but what we want is your feedback so we can add to this. So if you've got issues around grass verges, litter bins, parks and open spaces, we've got a line for the libraries, the local centre, under safe and secure parking problems, which we've discussed, roads and pavements, which we've discussed through Karl, road safety, etc. And neighbourhood policing again. I think I might have duplicated that. Housing, and all of that. So some of these are still in the draft format. So what we're after really is what you'd like to see. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? What are your priorities? What would be great is if we could use the Q&A function to jot down the issues so that we can capture them live and direct from you, so we won't miss anything. And while we're discussing this document live, I'll try and make some notes as well. So back over to you, Rob.
Yes, thanks, Kath. And just to remind those of you who came to the meeting we had in September, I think actually the 1st of October, a Saturday afternoon in the Carpenter's Arms, now called the Newman Centre. Those of you who attended that meeting, very useful. I know you've filled in some action plans. This is a copy of one. So what Kath and I are doing is going through those plans and transcribing into the document which she's just shown the new ideas that came out of that meeting. So step number one, those of you who contributed that day, thank you for your time, and your comments will be fed in. I'm particularly, I refer here to John Hayward. I don't know if he's on the call. I think he might be. He's raised some very useful suggestions, for example, about environmental concerns in the area. So I've incorporated those. Kath actually has also added some material which is what's in last year's plan to do with activities for young people. This is a sort of legacy from the Commonwealth Games. We did really well in the Commonwealth Games. It was a great event in Sutton Vesey and very popular amongst residents. And we had a lot of community groups involved in projects. As a legacy, we would like to leave behind activities for young people. And that's a theme I know Kath has picked up and has taken the lead on. So this year's plan have more of that sort of activity in the proposals than it did previously. And I'd also like to add a bit more about care for older people, which is another area I'm specialising in that on the City Council. So keen that supports older people and carers of older people would be a major feature in the new plan. So anything anybody else wants to say today, then you've got the floor for the moment. But what we will do once we've finished the draft, everybody in this call I think is on an email. We will ask Leslie to the City Council to circulate a draft by email that you could then comment on, get comments back to us. We need to sign this off. John, you remind me again, is this beginning of the new year, January sometime? We need to finalise this. That will be our
yes, if we aim for that, Councillor. We don't want to rush it because obviously we want to make certain we get as much consultation as we possibly can. But that would be a really good marker if we could.
The date's the 16th of January.
16th of Jan, right? Okay. Well, we will aim to have another meeting. If it's dark and wintry, we might do it online again. But if we can do a meeting of the Ward Forum where you will have seen a copy of the final draft in advance, and then hopefully we can actually vote to sign it off, and it then becomes all of our possession, belongs to residents as well as councillors. It will keep us busy for the next 3.5 years beyond that. So I don't know if there are any more comments coming in.
And we have one from Ray. Ray, would you like to speak? If you unmute yourself, we can see you.
Ray's
I think he
static,
might have frozen.
Is he frozen?
definitely frozen.
Oh gosh.
But he's playing a really good statue.
He's got a good set in there as well.
I see, yeah.
Well, if we can get you back in, Ray, we will. But is there anyone else?
I'll just sort of go over some of the youth stuff that I've been thinking about working on. The City Council will, I wouldn't say given, they allocated a certain amount of budget to working with youth and vulnerable people, and as such have or are in the process of employing up to 12 new youth workers across the city. I'm hoping to get one of those youth workers for the north side to work directly with us and with some younger people that I have contact with, to maybe hopefully provide some local I'm not going to say entertainment, but I've said entertainment, but local focus for young people, because there is a gap between the ages of, say, 14 and 18, where our local children don't have anything to do around here, and they're migrating out of Sutton Coldfield and going, like, you know, Star City, Birmingham. We want to keep them here, keep them entertained safely, and, you know, in our environment. And that's a project I'd like to, you know, work on over the next few years. Hopefully that like lands well with everybody. Yeah. And what else am I doing, Rob? Working on SEND stuff, working on
kind of school support and special needs in schools, and also the voluntary and community sector. So I think we wanted to do more to try to bring voluntary groups in. And obviously there is a
Am I unmuted now, folks?
Yes, you come through.
Go ahead, Ray.
What I was trying to ask was that document that you've just shown, are you going to send that out to us so we can peruse it a bit further?
Yes, I was just, you obviously went offline, Ray, when I said what we will do. We're just finishing off bringing in the comments that were made at that Saturday afternoon meeting, and the ones you submitted for the Bolton area. We'll then circulate a completed draft, but for further comment, probably by the end of November, I would guess. Comments back within 3 or 4 weeks, and then we can get the final sign-off. But
okay, thank you.
So hopefully that will get us a document that we can work to over the following years, up till 2026. It's still going at that point. I wanted to highlight the funding available for community groups, because there is a City Council fund, well, a number of funds actually. One pot which John Mole circulates, or his senior officer circulates, which we could briefly discuss. There's also money available for projects to do with people in need of care. And it's not just older people, it's now older adults, younger adults as well. But the social care section of the council, called Neighbourhood Network Scheme, that is got another pot, and there's a third pot, of course, in the town council, quite a big pot. Without digging too far into that hole, there is funding through the community grant scheme there. So there's increasingly opportunities to fund groups. I'm going to have a plug here that Helen is with us from Sydney Sunshine. Might want to comment in a minute about this, but we want to see community groups and community interest companies supported.
The more the better, because we can help get you the funding. We've got excellent expertise in the form of lovely John Mole, who has done great things with our local community groups and help them grow and expand and really reach vulnerable people in our community. It's been, you know, astonishing to see. So I'd encourage anyone out there who's got even the slimmest of ideas to, you know, draw something down into the community, even if it's like a 1 hour a week, to, you know, I don't know, give music to children or whatever, or do a, you know, a youth club, or, you know, help elderly people. Then just let us know, and we can, you know, talk you through the ways forward in terms of, like, you know, getting that off the ground and making it a success.
So
I just
John.
Sorry. Oh no, it's Max. Can I butt it as well? Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to point out about our grants panel meetings as well. Yesterday we held our grants panel meeting. There was one member of the public there, Jay Chan, who some of you might know, but it'd be great to see more members of the public join these meetings so we can have a few questions and stuff posed at the councillors. But yeah, as both Rob and Kath have said, the funding's there. Just come and ask, come and apply for it.
I should have introduced Max Hatton properly.
Sorry, yeah, I should have said hello. Yeah, I know quite a few people on the
Newly
call, but yeah.
Fourth town councillor for the Sutton Vesey ward, and Max
Yeah,
works on
should
the
have.
community grants project.
Yeah.
With Kath. Thanks for that, Max. And also, while you're on the floor, there's a Warm Places Fund, I think, isn't there, that the town council are also looking to chip into.
There is, yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, that's right. So yesterday we agreed we'd allocate £10,000 to fund warm spaces around Sutton Coalfield over the winter period. I did try and push them to increase it to £20,000 worth of funding, although the panel were very hesitant to do it. They did say that if the funding was needed, then these groups could come forward and request further funding. So £10,000 has been allocated at the moment, but there's definitely enough money there to offer more. But I think we have a question on that.
Yeah, go on,
Can't see who's raised. Tony, hello, how are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Can I say that St. Columba's Church has a coffee morning every month, or rather, they used to have one every month. Now it's every Friday, and that's the reason for them doing it. Meanwhile, at the community hall in Bannersgate, we're thinking about it. We have a coffee morning once a month, third Tuesday. We're looking into that as well. But at the moment, there's a fair bit of illness around the area.
That's true.
So we have to ask residents how many there are to make sure we're having the one that's already scheduled. But I wish this damn thing would go away. I really do.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mention that.
No, definitely, Tony. I think just to point out, so is it not next Tuesday? It's the Tuesday after, isn't it? The 22nd.
It's the third Tuesday. It should be next Tuesday, but we've had a death and 2 people ill, so it's looking sticky. But there's St. Columba's tomorrow, 10:30 to 12:30, if anyone's interested.
That's a great church.
Is that another warm space?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I'm sure it's a lot warmer than my flat.
It's a new boiler they've had fitted, so it's a warm air boiler, which I find quite useful because it's better. There's not so many very hot spaces and very cold spaces. You've just got the warm air going through the room. So 10:30 to 12:30 tomorrow at St. Columba's Church. Thank you very much.
And if anyone else needs to inform anyone else of if they have a need to go to a warm space during the day or across the week, there is a link on Birmingham City Council website that has all the warm spaces across the city that are available to use. And I think our nearest one is actually Winley swimming baths, where you can go in and use the facilities for free for an hour. The gym and the swimming pool and the showers, etc. So that's at least good to know.
I'll try and put the link in. I'm looking at the site now. I'll try and put the link in the chat. I'm not as competent technologically as Kath. John Mole has his hand up, so do you want to add to this, John?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. It's just to come on from the grant processes. The city is also looking at a grant process of between £5,000 to £10,000 for our warm spaces. So as soon as I've got the full details on that, I will get it circulated to you all.
Oh, that's good to know, John, because that's a project I want to work on very locally with some of the community groups that are already around, and getting that money dripped down into those spaces. Brilliant. In fact, I've got a meeting that you might want to come to in the next couple of weeks, John. I'll email you.
Thanks, John. And I'm taking it that you're still available to advise any community group or community interest company who might be looking for funding. You can provide them.
Oh, absolutely, Councillor. From just somebody that wants to set up a knitting group right through to somebody that wants to turn it into a long-term business. And again, always happy to advise on finance advice and governance and everything else that comes with it.
That's what I'd like to hear. So should we move on then to the community updates?
Raymond has a
Ray
has a question. Yes, Ray.
Prompt. Who else have we got?
Ray.
Oh yes, Ray. Go on then.
Following the little item that you put on the newsletter, Rob, I've had a few people request to go on a newsletter email list.
Yeah.
And that warm spaces thing is just the sort of thing that we can send out to those people.
Yeah.
the requests are still coming in. One came in this evening to go on the list. Can people send me the details of these warm spaces, where they are and what time they're available, and I'll pass it on to the residents?
Ray, I've put a link to the website in the chat, which you can use, or you can go on to our Facebook page, Vesey Ward Councillors, and I've put the link on there as well.
Okay.
And then if you want to get in touch with me at some point and let me know of the people who need support, we can sort of come up with some ideas of, you know, about expanding this new pot of money for this particular area, and, you know, do it in the right places. Basically, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, great stuff. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Thanks, Ray.
Brilliant. I'll try and nudge the meeting on as we're closing. We're supposed to close in a few minutes, but I guess we could carry on slightly over time, as we often do in these ward meetings. So we move on to community updates then.
Yeah.
And I've got.
So,
well, first of all, I think it would be great, perhaps Rosemary, if you could introduce the section on the Boldmere Christmas Festival, which is coming on the Sunday, the 20th of November. Do you want to brief everybody on what you've got in mind there? Rosemary is a member of Boldmere Futures Partnership.
Well, we've got 75 different stalls along the high street, food, stores, craft, whatever.
was that 75?
75.
75.
Yes.
Gosh, that's a lot.
Yes, I've dealt with over 350 emails in setting up this festival. So 75 items along the high street. We'll be going from 1 to 6. There's many new stores, there's many new startup schools. We would still like any volunteers who would come and help us, especially setting down at 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. When everybody's tired, as Max will know from the summer festival, where we absolutely shattered him.
Oh no, it was good fun. I'm definitely there this time as well. Don't worry.
It's a long day. We start at 8 o'clock, and it's a 12-hour day. We are all absolutely shattered. So if anybody's free to help us at the end of the day, it'd be good. But there's a lot of new stores, a lot of new food stores, different music, and you know, we're still waiting to hear if Sutton Council's given us a grant. We haven't heard yet about that, but we're going ahead, and please come in your droves. And so we have lots of people coming in, and everybody have a lovely afternoon.
Just while you're here, Max, you may have a bit of inside knowledge on.
I was like, can I say? I was like, yeah, it did get approved. It's been, yeah, we've granted the funding. I wasn't sure, like, I was like,
been approved by the grants panel, but it's now got to go to the next stage. Is that right?
Next stage, yeah.
It's next stage.
So it's been approved by the grants panel.
Yes.
Right. So it gets full town council meeting, won't it? But yeah, it's the mood. Yeah.
So anyway, fingers crossed that we will get but it will go ahead anyway, whether we get the grant or not. But if we don't get the grant, we obviously won't have the finances to do other things that we're hoping to do.
I know there were, there's some big plans.
Just adding my plug to the Christmas light switch on. So, for previous years, there's always been a kind of rival event. The Christmas light switch on in the Sutton Town Centre has also been built up. But the Business Improvement District, who used to run that, have actually decided not to put on a Christmas lights switch on event. So Boldmere is the only one.
The event.
This is the event, yeah.
Or a switch on. So Sunday the 20th, I think the lights go on about 5:30, is it?
About 5:30, yes.
Yeah, so we've got a plug here that we are now the leading group across the whole of Sutton.
Well, can I just take this opportunity to just say thank you, Rosemary, to you and the team at Boldmere Futures for the effort and the work that you put in year out to get these things off the ground, because I know it's a phenomenal amount of work. And you just mentioned 300 odd emails. I'm sure there were way more than that to deal with, but we really appreciate it. You really highlight Vesey Ward through the work that you do, and it's, you know, it's phenomenal.
I think the festivals are the highlight of the year, both of them. They're fantastic.
Well,
we have a wonderful group of people who come and help us. You know, all ages.
Can I just say as well that the forum has been working with the futures, And as the Christmas lights go onto the lampposts, we're very hopeful that our new banners will go on at the same time. Funded from the forum, from the money that we had for celebrating communities for the Commonwealth Games.
Oh, okay.
That'd be
And
great.
there's 4 different images, and I'm not going to reveal any more at the moment, but they're local people and local scenes. So that will be something nice to brighten up the streets after the lights have taken down as well.
You're teasing
Brilliant.
us now, Ray. We'll have to
So
all be there.
is that your update, Ray?
Well, it's not all. I heard Rob say earlier about the date of the January meeting, and we're planning an AGM in January. We would have liked it this month, but it's impossible to fit it in properly. Can you tell me the date? The committee have asked for it to be on the 10th or 11th of January. Can you tell me if that clashes with any of your meetings? For the town
we need
council,
to discuss that because there's some deadlines we need to hit as well before then for the ward plan as well. So
the only person on the town council it affects is Manish on the subcommittee he's on.
Yeah.
So, but I'm concerned that I'd like.
So you're hoping for the 10th. So Rob, should we take that away and try and work out the diary around that?
Yes, I would think so. The only risk is that might be City Council Tuesday, and I suspect the first Tuesday of January will be a City Council meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we said 10th or 12th or 11th, so I haven't booked anything yet. I'm just hoping the Newman Centre will be available, but it's a matter of matching who can be there and when they can be there. So.
I'll just prod our officers here. I don't know whether Leslie or John happens to have the meeting dates of the City Council.
I'll look them up now. I'll be 2 minutes.
Thanks very much. I was going to try and do the same, but I'm there. I've beaten you to it. It's the 10th of January 2023 is the City Council full meeting.
Well done.
So we can't do that.
Okay, well that's good to know.
The Wednesday 11th is therefore likely to be a clear day.
Okay, well, I'll try and book the Newman Centre for that then. Thank you very much for that.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything much more that I can add from the forum point of view. So if you don't mind very much, I've got a curry waiting for me at the Bishop Vesey.
Jealous.
Off your pot.
Thanks, Ray.
Enjoy.
Okay, nice to meet everybody. Thank you.
You've chosen your priorities right.
So
thanks for your input.
It looks like we have Eco Sutton here as well. Is that John there? Who have we got?
Yeah,
Stephen.
Yeah.
There you go, Stephen. Let me highlight you so we can see your face.
Yep.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to ask 2 questions, but you actually answered one of them in an email. Yeah, I want to ask you how the ward is responding to the climate emergency, and in your plan, should you have in the front of it that all your decisions are taken with the climate emergency in mind, you know, right at the front of your plan?
Okay. Well, there's a difference between making political statements in ward plans isn't quite allowed, but we'd have to negotiate some of the wording in one of the lines, perhaps.
Right. Okay.
To make that one of the focuses of the ward.
Suitable wording, if you like. Which you can
they have the suitable wording, and I did reply, I think, to John Haywood, Kath, that when we come to our schedule of ward forums in the new year, we'll have to do the one that signs off the ward plan.
Yeah.
But following that, maybe as we get to spring, March, it will be a really great opportunity then for us to do what we said we'd do for a while, which is to have a public health speaker, environmental issues, pollution, recycling. And I want to bring Manish in, if we can, in a minute, to the potential active travel scheme, which we've looked at for Boldmere.
Manish has had to leave the meeting. So.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he left earlier.
Well, just flagging, therefore, that the town council have in mind that there may be some money they can get hold of from the West Midlands Combined Authority, I think it is, to introduce better walking and cycling facilities in Boldmere. So if we can use that as a sort of environment and health special, for the meeting that would therefore be in March. I think that would help to wrap up the promise we've given to John Hayward for a while, which is we'd also talk about the green space management, and our community groups can get involved in all of that. So if we
Okay, so we could,
target
Leslie,
that.
if you could put Leslie Bannister, if you could put that on the draft agenda, so
Will
we
do.
don't.
When we head to the
So it's
March
half done.
meeting.
Thank you.
Right stuff. So what other community groups have we got available here today?
Well, I was going to say we have got Helen from the Sing Me Sunshine. Helen.
Oh, hello. I didn't realise you were a community group. Sorry.
Oh, yes, I'm a
Are
resident.
you the lady,
Well,
lady
the
that does
piano is sitting there.
music with
Yes.
oh, okay, I've heard of you.
Yeah, at St Michael's Church Hall on Tuesday afternoons. And it's just a fantastic hour of just singing, laughter and chat. And we are growing week on week. Last week we achieved 32, which beats the last record of 31. And this week we reached 44. Which was massive. And we had there were two men who in the last 2 weeks, they brought their mothers and their mother-in-laws. And the second chap came this week and his mother-in-law was 96.
Oh.
And she is living with dementia, but it's open to all sorts. It's open to people who live in dementia and their carers. And that's kind of the crux of the matter, because the carers support each other and they get peer support when they're having a really tough time. But this chap, who brought his mother and mother-in-law, who was 96, she phoned her son-in-law 5 times on Tuesday evening to say how much she'd enjoyed her afternoon and was definitely going to go back next week. So it's really, I'm just coming on here, one as a local resident, but two, to say if you know anybody, some living with dementia, Parkinson's, their carers, people who just are a bit lonely and isolated, people who just like to have a good sing around the piano, that's what happens on a Tuesday afternoon at St Michael's Church Hall. And it's just getting the word out, because that's what matters. And you know, we have a great time. It's a wonderful, wonderful atmosphere. If you're ever free on a Tuesday afternoon, come and join us and see what we're all about. You'd be
See
so
you next week.
Brilliant. That would be great.
So one of the things that I think might be really useful is I've got a little experience on the caring for carers side of things, so I could probably bring along a little information for those people to help support them, like joining forward Birmingham Forward Carers, etc. So you know, maybe we could just expand on that a little bit, and you know, see what the needs are.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, no,
Put you in touch with some people.
Yeah, when we are kind of involved with the Alzheimer's Association as well, and they come in sometimes and hand that, you know, do some guidance while they're there, while we entertain the relatives. They can have a quiet word. So it's just we all need to work together to support each other, because it's very
There's somebody I need to introduce you to then.
Okay, okay. Brilliant. Thank you.
If Tony Willis is still on this call, but you may not be aware that Tony Willis produces a newsletter.
Helen's in already.
Tony's put me
already in.
Helen's been in for about 3 months.
Oh, right, there we go. It shows you I haven't read it all yet. Excellent. Well, we will do our best to promote what excellent work you're doing. And I know we've talked about resourcing for the work you do. And I mentioned John Mole, who is on this line, maybe someone you might want to talk to about how to get some further financial support for your efforts.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. I think he's gone. I can't see him on there anymore.
He's sort of tucked away down the bottom, but Leslie will.
Brilliant.
Yeah, John's left the meeting, but I'll let John know.
Right, yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Copy me into that.
I don't know if you've got any other groups present. I just want to put in a plug while we're talking about carers. Carers Rights Day. Yeah. Again, if you're not involved in this, Helen, please go along. It's on the Friday, the 25th of November, between 10:30 and 1 in the United Reformed Church Sutton Town Centre. It's a really good event organised by Carers UK, is it?
Carers United.
Carers United.
Led by a lady called Bobby Duggan. They do fantastic work, and if you have any kind of carers or caring responsibility, or any social work issues or occupational therapy that's required, or any kind of social issue at all in that sort of framework, that's the place to go to get the answers to your questions. Even if it's like, how do you apply for DLA? How do you access, your occupational therapy needs? How do you access support?
What we're here for, to help people.
That's what we're here for. Yeah.
Yes, exactly what it's there for.
That's
yeah.
exactly what it's there for. You know, and they are brilliant. Very passionate about what they do.
Sorry, Kath, I am Zooming until about 11:45 on that Friday, but I will try and nip in for the last bit of it.
Yep.
Okay, and beyond that, email me and I'll introduce you to the lady that runs it.
There'll be people still there because they provide sandwiches for lunch, so it holds the audience till at least 1 o'clock.
Can I show you this from today? There were 4 stalls in the URC, and I've got a leaflet from all 4 of them, and it'll be in Gatepost that's coming out the end of this month. And it's all about it. It was an OT thing.
Oh, yes.
So
that was on today. Did you go?
Yeah, and it
was it useful?
This was up. A couple of other things. Anyway, it'll be on Gatepost. I've got a leaflet from each of the 4 of them, and the beauty of the portable document format is that you can blow it up at least 5 times, and so I can put things like where's it gone? Things like this on sideways, and you can still read it.
That's good.
This was an interesting one because oh, wait a minute, which way? Yeah, when you look at it that way, you can just turn it round and there's the other side.
I know that
which
seems
is
very
quite
well
confusing when you're scanning them. Okay,
Thanks,
that'll be
Tony.
the end of the month.
Excellent.
Any other updates, Tony?
Oh, that's about it, really. Oh, there is a little bit of bad news. There's a shop. I don't want to name it yet. I've had a word with a planning officer, but there's a shop in Boldmere. Several years, well, quite a few years back, we got the occupants to put a ramp in. It's now changed use slightly, and they've taken the ramp away, which is very disappointing. It's not only disappointing, it's illegal. You can't make a place less accessible than it was. So
Tony.
I'm putting the full deal to the planning officer tomorrow.
Yes,
I hate having to do this because people have to make a living, but then on the other hand, he'd be better off if he opened it up to people in wheelchairs, because we actually do have some spending money.
Yeah, well, this is one of the important things to highlight through the Birmingham supplementary planning document meeting that's coming up soon as well, is to highlighting the importance of making disability and accessibility a higher priority than it is. People have a duty to meet certain regulations, but enforcing that needs to be higher up the agenda, and we need voices like yourself and me going to those meetings to make sure that those things happen, because once they're in the supplementary planning documents, where they become that's more of a focus for planning officers to enforce. So that's one of the routes to do it through.
But you'd think sticking to the Equality Act would be enough.
I know. We've got to hit it from all sides, is what I've learned over the last few years, trying to campaign for rights to be met equally and consistency across the board. You've just got to come at it at all angles. So let's not leave any stone unturned, mister.
Anyway, take a walk up and see if you can see which one it is.
Yeah, I think I know which one it is.
Yes, I think that without naming names on a broadcast, I think we know the culprit. Right, we'll do our best to lean on them.
Okay.
Anyway, before we descend into gossip and turmoil, is there anything else that anyone would like to bring up?
Anything else from the town council, Max? Have you covered your bit?
Yeah, I think we covered our bit with the warm spaces. Plus, I think we've lost like half the audience as people have
scampering off to bed.
Enjoying their curry. I think I might have to do the same as Ray and order one.
You're not eating curry. You're going for a kebab, I know you.
Curry. Oh, I know it. No, I had one the other day. I can't. Maybe Burger King. That's a new place down the road from me.
I'm just having a small whiskey for medicinal purposes.
Oh,
yeah, we've heard that before, Tony. I think we're getting to the point.
That's why I'm very fit and well, because I look after my health.
Yeah,
keeps you warm this time of year.
This meeting is sinking slowly into.
And it's being recorded. So
That's what my whiskey will be